It's a networking with purpose, so small warm of applause for Jenny. Thank you.
So funny, I know I think I need a mic, but I don't really need one, but last year a young guy from Belay introduced me. He was Belay was the sponsor of this speech I was doing last time, and Eli came up and introduced me. And it was so interesting because I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he was a co-op student that I hired when I used to work at PCL. Dan was never my co-op student, so I don't have that same story for him. Not yet. Yeah, well, welcome everybody. Happy to be here, happy to be speaking at the OCA conference again. I think this might be my fourth time, so I feel really honored to be asked to come back, and that's because of you guys signing up and coming to the sessions. Today when I was thinking about what to speak about, I normally speak about leadership, and that's kind of the space that I play in, is leadership development. And I had this idea because I've been doing a lot of speaking with coaching clients and being asked to speak on professional presence as a leadership trait and a leadership quality. And I remember speaking with Stephanie and the folks at the OCA about the upcoming symposium and saying we should do a session on professional presence, and let's add in the elements around networking, because I always get asked about coming to these events and how do I get the most out of these events and how do I act, and oh my God, I hate them, I don't want to go. And so as a leadership trait or quality or skill set to enhance and beef up, this is a pertinent topic. It's also a great topic because you're at the symposium. And I begged for the 9 a.m. slot because I'm like, because then you can take whatever nuggets you get from today, from this session, and use them while you're here networking with the fellow folks in our fine industry. So I know that some of you in the room would rather be dealing with delayed deliveries or some major deficiencies on site rather than being at a networking event. Some of you may prefer to be at the dentist, strapped into that chair, ready for that root canal, than a network event. How many, just quick show of hands, would rather be, and I'm not going to take it personal, this is like for the, oh, thank you Vince, would rather be somewhere else than at a networking event. Not per se the OCA Symposium, but you've been asked, hey, come on, I need you to come here, we're going to meet a bunch of people, you don't know them, get your dancing shoes on. Like, how many are excited to do that? Not so many, right? But there are some. And so what I have designed for you today is for the person who would rather be getting the root canal, or for the people who would like to come to these things and thrive on meeting people and networking and doing those things. It's interesting though, because most of the work in our industry, in the construction industry, moves through relationships. And that is in essence what networking is, right? It's making connections with people. So Dan introduced me. My name is Jenny West Correa. I own a company called West Reach Development. It's a leadership development company that aims on helping leaders elevate their impact. I'm a certified facilitator and executive coach. The bulk of my clientele are from the construction industry. I've spent close to 30 years in our wonderful industry. I can't imagine not working within it. I'm excited to be here with you today. And my goal today for this hour is not to turn you into a quote-unquote networking person or to change who you are. My goal is to make this slightly more useful and slightly less painful for those of you that aren't super jacked to be here. So to start, I thought, I do this a lot, I've got a few images up on the slide, okay? Just take a minute to identify with those and choose one image that you feel represents how you generally feel about networking. And for the ease of picking, I've numbered them. So just take a look and lock that number in your head. And just a quick show of hands, is anybody number one? Number one, thank you for your bravery. Yes, thanks, number one. And what is number one signifying? Scared shitless, right? Nervous, uneasy, not really feeling it, right? And so we can relate to that. And those of you that maybe didn't pick that, have you ever felt that way at a networking event? Have you ever been that person at something? And networking, let's just define what that is. That's this, right? We're at a networking event here today, right? But just even you going to a lunch with some people that you might not know, or that you do know, is a networking event. You attending your spouse's holiday party is a networking event, right? Anybody two? I'm 2. But is anybody else 2? Is anybody else in there with me? No, I didn't think so. It's kind of a rare one. How about a 3? Because what does 3 signify? Yeah, I knew there'd be some 3s in the room. What's that? 2's crazy. We'll just skip over that person, right? But what's 3? Comfortable, confident, ready, right? How many of you would love to be number 3 at any networking event, right? Okay, right? I didn't ask if anybody would love to be number 1. I'm not going to be unrealistic and ask if anybody wants to be number 2, right? But who wants to be 3, right? And we didn't talk about 4 and 5, right? But for those of you that picked 4 and 5, what do those signify? What's 4? Anybody choose 4? Yeah, what does that signify for you? Present, I'm there. Just gonna see what happens, right? Yeah, and how about 5? Get me out, right? Either bored or indifferent, right? Or just how many of you have gone to an event and just showed up? You knew you were physically there, but you're not sure how present you actually were, right? And as a 2, I can also admit that I've been there. So the point of this is, as a leader, building relationships, networking, making connections, all speaks to this concept around your professional presence. And it is an important skill that we need to hone and that we need to cultivate, craft, and use to be effective in whatever roles we have, whatever organizations we're in, if we run our own businesses, if we work for large corporations. That essence of professional presence is critical. So I've thrown this quote up here, and what do you think of this? The industry that we're in, the construction industry, it's a people industry, right? Yeah, we're building stuff, we're digging stuff, we're erecting things, we're putting stuff together. But this really is a people industry. It's a relationship industry. Success is in the connections, it's in the collaborations, it's in the relationships, it's in the trust. Right? We don't get that when we're number 1 and number 4, number 5, number 6 in that previous slide. Right? If we shift our mindset around what it means to go to a networking event, we start to create a different experience, not just for us attending, but for the people that we interact with. And if you shift your mind that attending the networking event isn't for you, think of it as an opportunity for the connection for the person that you haven't met yet. Okay? A lot of networking, especially in construction, feels like just standing beside someone until one of you talks, until one of you breaks the ice. Or you're in a group of people and you're silently, quickly checking your phone so you can act like something urgent just came up so you can bail and get out and take that quick construction call, because we're in the industry, so we all know that stuff happens and we gotta go. Okay? And somehow, this opportunity to connect with people is what drives a lot of the work in our industry, right? It's the reason we get rework. It's the reason that people want to connect with us and partner with us and collaborate with us, which is interesting because most people don't actually like networking, but we all like working with people we trust. So if we change our mindset around what networking is, it's not to sell stuff, it's not to be that slimy business guy, right? It's to create trust with new people for future business, for future connections. So instead about making this about being more outgoing, being number 2, more polished or more on, let's make it about being clearer, more intentional, and easier to understand. And God forbid, real, right? Now, I've actually been to a lot of seminars on this topic over the duration of my career. And I've heard everything from, oh, you need an elevator pitch, Jenny. Ooh, you need something snazzy when you meet people. That's not just your boring name and your position or your title. Oh, you need like a clever way to say what you do. And at the risk of dismissing that, I disagree. And I disagree for our industry specifically. It does not work. It sounds fake, it's phony, we see through it, and that's not the person I want to do business with. So at the risk of some of you disagreeing with me, and that's okay, I am going to share with you how to just be you. We probably could end it now. Just be you, guys, you're good. Go network, right? But it really begins with our mindset. So I'm going to put up these 2. The first one, networking is not collecting contacts. Networking is about planting relations. I'm going to put up my second one. Networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Agree? These feel less slimy, right? Don't they feel a bit more authentic? Like a bit more real? Right? So it begins with our mindset. And if this starts to become our mindset, if we stop seeing this as the sole opportunity to gain new business, or to sell myself, or to pitch my organization, or to persuade others, or convince others, or pull them in and sneak them around to my side, that feels like pressure. Of course you don't want to go, right? That feels pressure, that feels icky, that feels inauthentic, and it feels slimy. Okay? What if we shift our mindset, reframe it, redefine it away from the slime, away from the ick? The biggest mistake that people make with networking is thinking it's separate from work, that it's a separate event, that it's something in addition to. What roles do we have in the room? What are people in this room? Executives, supervisors, managers, department heads, CEOs, founders, superintendents, foremen, safety professionals, HR, admin support, accounting. Does not matter the role, does not matter the position. Networking is part of that job, part of what you do. It's just conversations. That's all networking needs to be, is just conversations with real people, experiencing the real you with a bit more awareness behind them. So that's why you need to stay, because there is a bit of structure to it. But it's with a bit more intent. I always say in my leadership business, when I coach my individual coaching clients, when I'm speaking at leadership events, when I'm running leadership training, the elevated leader is intentional. They're strategic, they plan, versus reactionary, passive, let's just see what happens. Yet all of us go to networking with the, let's just see what happens. Let me grab my coffee, I'll just wander around and see who comes up to me, right? What if we're a bit more intentional about it? So it starts with shifting our mindset, right? And so I tend to think of this, everything starts with mindset, right? Learning a new skill, developing our leadership, losing weight, quitting smoking, like you pick it, right? It starts with what our mindset tells us, how we framed our mindset. And so when I teach on elevated leadership, I always start with exploring the mindset. If the leader's mindset is, I'm the boss, you work for me, you do what I say, that's one mindset. Or is the leader's mindset, my role as your leader is to create conditions so you can be successful and you can thrive because you're on my team and your success benefits me and the project and our company and the organization, so it's kind of in my best interest that I create conditions so that you're successful. And if that's actually the case, then as your leader, I work for you. Like, that's a different mindset, right? And that's gonna change how you show up in your daily actions with your people on a day-to-day basis. So when it comes to our mindset around networking, let's shift an old mindset to a new one. So what if the old mindset is that negative outlook, that picture number 4, number 1, number 5, I don't really want to be here, right? I have to go to this stupid event. And what if we shift it to something positive? What if we change that mindset to, I wonder what connection I could make today? I wonder who I could meet today. Okay, that's a mindset shift. What if the old mindset is, I'm going to network, and instead we shift it to, I'm going to connect? Just a small change, right? Just one word. Doesn't connecting sound better than networking? Right? Doesn't that just feel better? Right? And so the old mindset is, I need to go and work the room. Like, I don't really want to do that. Right? That's that slimy pressure feel. And instead we tell ourselves, what meaningful connections can I make? Who can I develop some engagement with? Who could I create some trust with? What if the old mindset is self-serving versus serving others? Okay? And that's a bit of a shift. And that's a shift in my leadership clients as well. What do you mean I'm not the boss? What do you mean I work for them? Jenny, that's crazy. They work for me. I got the title. I got the boss. I'm the manager. Right? So let's shift that to networking. What if the view is, I'm coming here to see what I can gain, what I can take? All these booths, mine included, have got like some swag and some things we want you to take away that has our business logo on it and tells you how to contact us. And everybody's like, I need another sticker, right? What if your mindset was, how can I serve others? So instead of, how can I get the most out of being here today? What if it's, how can I help others get the most out of being here today? Who needs to meet me? Who needs to connect with me? Who can I connect to each other? Do that. You'll make way more connections. You'll build way more trust that will serve you in this industry if you have that mindset. What if the old mindset is, I have to go and talk, versus what if I go and give? So instead of how much business can I get today, what about how can I help someone or give something away? And give something away, maybe you don't have a booth here, maybe you don't have some fun pens to hand out, right? But you could give away a connection, you could connect two people together, you could talk about your project, maybe some innovative thing you've been doing, and that's giving something away, right? What if the old mindset is, I need to sell, and that feels ick, right? To, I need to listen, right? How can I sell myself or my business? And the new mindset, the shift is, how can I ask better questions and listen? Right? What if you leave here today and you don't go spewing off what you do and who you work for and all the amazing accolades that you have, but instead you ask someone else theirs? Don't worry, it'll come back. They'll ask you about you after, but start with them. Right? That starts to shift how we feel about it. And then finally, what if the old mindset is, I'm forced to go to this thing? How many of you were told to be here today? Your boss told you to be, yeah, Dan. Yeah. And how many chose to be here? You want to go, right? And that's the start. That's the start, right? It starts to shift the mindset. When we're forced to do something, it's hard to have a positive outlook around it, right? It's hard to have the positive mindset. So let's shift the force to go to want to go. I don't want to. How can I get out of this? How many pretended to fake sick this morning? I thought, no, I better go, right? Like, and for some of us, this is an anxiety-ridden type of experience, okay? And how do we shift it so we look forward to something like this? And it's in some of the things we're talking about. It's if we start shifting that mindset and we start changing our perspective, then we can start to have a different experience. So I'm just putting them all up for ease around the old mindset versus the new enhanced mindset. And when you look at this, just pause and take a minute to recognize where your mindset sits normally, where it's sitting this morning before you came in here. Has it shifted just in the few minutes that we've been chatting, right? Which one feels better? Which one feels like it could be productive? Which one feels like this will be a day of value, right? It's the enhanced mindset, right? So let's dig a bit deeper. So now you've got that mindset. So now we have to figure out how do we apply that positive mindset and get the most out of an event like this, or any networking event, okay? Most people don't struggle with networking because they're awkward. They struggle because they're unclear. They don't have a clear intention as to what they want to use the event for, or what they want to get out of the event, or why they're even here, right? When we're unclear, it's awkward. How many of you have bumped into somebody at an event, had an exchange with them, walked away and went, that was weird. That did not feel right. That was awkward as shit, right? And yeah, and it's usually because what did you talk about? Nothing. The weather, just asking me if I found it hard to get here, it's difficult it's awkward because there's no clarity, right? So if we set an intention, if we have a goal, and we go into our conversations clear, it feels calm, it feels easy, it feels purposeful. It puts the other person at ease. Again, if you start thinking about what you're doing for the person you're connecting with as opposed to you, it starts to shift. Okay? So I'm gonna pause here and ask you to consider, why are you here today? What's your goal? What's your intention? Why this symposium? Maybe you've got a booth set up and you're gonna leave here and go man a booth for your organization. What's your goal standing at that booth? What's your intention for the person who walks by and stops and chats with you, right? Is it to sell your company? Is it to shove your product at them? Or is it to ask them questions, find out about them, inquire, get them engaged that way, build trust, right? Every conversation isn't going to turn into new business, new leads, new work, but it's going to create a value for someone. So think about right now, if you haven't yet, driving in, buying your ticket, what your purpose is being here today. And I'm going to help you get a bit more clarity on it. Maybe it's one of these three things. Are you here to learn? Are you here to reconnect with someone? Are you here to meet someone new? Whenever I go to a large event, something like this, like a trade show where there's lots of people, a conference, anything, if it's construction related, leadership related, I always try and make a habit of taking a look at who's going to be there. And the OCA does an amazing job of listing that for us in advance. Some don't, some you got to wait till you get there, right? But if the organization is putting out who's going to be there, who has a booth, who are the exhibitors, who's speaking, right? Take a look at that information. See if there's something in there. Maybe, I'm hoping you're all here because you wanted to learn something about this topic, right? Or maybe you wanted to reconnect with me because you came and sat in my session last year. Or maybe it's because you want to meet someone new and you want to talk to me after and see if I know Fred at XYZ company, because you'd really like to meet him and you know that I talk to a lot of people, and so maybe Jenny can reconnect me to somebody. So is your goal around the why? Perhaps you want to consider what's useful to talk about. Is it maybe a project? Is it maybe a challenge? Is it maybe a change in the industry? Is it maybe a concept, an idea? Okay, so why am I here? What do I want to talk about? What's useful to talk about? And then finally, who do I talk to? And here's your tip, not everyone. Right? If the goal is I'm just going to talk to everyone, that's where you're going to find yourself stuck in 20-minute conversations talking about the weather. Right? So get clear. I really want to meet Fred from XYZ company. I really want to talk to somebody over in that area because I've never been exposed to that. This would be really helpful for our company if we connect or partner up with this company, and so I really want to make sure I visit their booth before I leave here today. Right? There is a huge poster board out when you came in with all the companies listed. If you haven't looked at it yet, maybe take a look at that and narrow down before I leave today at noon, before I go at the end of the day, before I leave an hour after I leave this session. I want to make sure, I want to set an intent that I meet with this person, talk about this, learn about something new. So take a minute to think about these, and I'm not going to ask anyone to shout them out. I would never put you on the spot. But just take a minute to reflect and figure out, why are you here? Is there something you want to learn? Is there somebody you want to connect to? Is there something you want to make sure you talk about or you ask about? And once we have that clarity, we have that intention, it starts to feel a bit better. I was coaching a gentleman who is terrified of networking, and he's in our industry, and he's pretty senior. And so he recognizes that it's a critical part of his role for the success of his business, but he hates it. Hates it. Comes up with reasons, fakes sick, sends his team on his behalf, and he knows that it's an area that he needs to work on and improve. And one of the things I said to him about setting a goal, setting an intent, shared these three, and he's like, I can't, my brain can't even compute. I don't know. I'm too freaked out. And I said, what if the goal is just a number of people that you're going to connect with? Even if it's just to say, hey, I'm Fred. I'm from XYZ company. And you are? And what if the goal is just, I'm going to do that 10 times today to 10 different people? And he's like, oh, I could do that. And so start with a goal that makes sense for you, depending on that level of uncomfort or that uneasiness. Now, once we have that goal or that intention, you're like, that's great, Jenny, but how do I get out there and actually meet my goal, achieve my goal, right? And as we explore some of these tools to network with more ease, it's important, in my opinion, to stay true to who you are, especially in our industry. Okay? It is very obvious when we are, quote unquote, faking it. Okay? So staying authentic. Remember, and this is how I always remember it, you're creating conditions, connections, and relationships with people. Give them the person that they're going to get when the event is over. So if they meet you today and you're this flashy guy and, really funny and joking and, over the top, and they decide, wow, you really wowed me, I want to do business with you, and then they connect with you later for a coffee and you're a totally different person, my red flag's going up. Who did I meet at that event? Right? How many of you are part of interviews and you meet the person in the interview, you know already you're getting them at their best, right? But most times if you create a space in that interview where they're comfortable, you start to see who the real person is. And then when you decide to hire them and they start on their first day, look, there's that guy. Not as dressed as nice, but same guy. Right? I remember one time in my entire career, I interviewed a guy, I met him, I thought he was amazing, we hired him, and I was like, dude, did I interview your twin brother? Like, who are you? Like a completely different person, right? And that relationship, that employment did not work out. Okay? They didn't make it past the probation period. So at a networking event, give them who they're actually gonna get if they wanna engage with you later, right? So I hope that brings some comfort. Just be you, right? You don't need to be a fake version of yourself, an elevated version of yourself. That's not who they're gonna work with if they decide to work with you. People see through the bullshit. They can spot the phony, okay? And in our industry, I find we are like hyper aware of that, especially, okay? You don't need a polished introduction. So this is where I'm gonna kind of shit on the whole elevator pitch concept, okay? There's a time and place for those, maybe in a formal presentation, but in a networking event like this, you going up to someone saying, hi, I'm Fred, I make construction dreams come true. I'm gonna be like, okay, like that's kind of weird, right? So just say, hey, I'm Fred, I'm a superintendent at XYZ company. What do you do? Like, just be you, okay? This idea of letting go of kind of this extra polished, fancy version of an introduction, please, just get rid of it. Now, more than better introductions, it's really about making better connections and better conversations. So here are a few of my tips to do that. And the first one is, make it easy for them, okay? If we take this self-serving approach, that it's not self-serving, it's not for me, but it's a selfless approach, that I'm gonna do this for them, then make the connection and the conversation easy for that person, okay? I'm gonna go through some of these other ones, but I want you to really think about making a human connection with someone. So I have some make it easy intros. How many of you struggle with, how do I start the conversation? Yeah? You see somebody, you wanna talk to them, oh, how do I do this? I know my go-to is the weather, and that's so cheeseball, and I don't know if that's what I want to do, right? Or I like your shoes, right? That's fine, okay? Make it easy for them. So I've put some really super easy ones. You're gonna look at this and go, I came to this event for these, and it's because it's not rocket science, okay? Hey, I don't think we've met yet. I'm Jenny. Like, that's the one I use. I don't think we've had an opportunity to meet. I'm Jenny, right? And just extend your hand, shake it. What are they gonna say? Hi, I'm Fred, right? And that's how you kind of get it going. Now you want something to keep the conversation going, right? What'd you think of that speaker? Okay. Oh, you didn't go see Jenny speak? Did you see somebody else? Oh, Dan Leduc, how was his? No, you should have went to Jenny's. Right? He was still in the room, sorry. Who are you here to meet? What have you enjoyed so far? What company are you with? Who brought you to this event? Why are you here? What do you do? Like, make it just normal, right? And that's what I mean about making it easy, because when we make it easy for them, it makes it easy for us. Right? It takes the pressure off. Okay? Now, I'm going to go back to this slide because I have a few other tips on here. Use the event and use our industry. Okay? Let's say you're at the conference, you recognize somebody, you saw them, they were sitting in here this morning, but you see them later on today. Use this event, seize this opportunity. Oh, I think I saw you in that speech this morning on the networking thing. And then there's your segue into a conversation, okay? Maybe it's bumping up to them. You know what, I passed your booth earlier. I didn't see you standing there. I didn't realize you worked for XYZ company. So sometimes using the event is a nice, easy way, makes it easy for them, makes it easy for you, okay? Using standard conversation starters, okay? Do you know where the coffee is? Hey, where'd you get that roast beef sandwich? That looks really good. Like, sometimes just using natural conversation starters is a nice way to get in with people. And I have some other ones on here about just maybe have a story ready. And this isn't a pressure situation to like think about, oh, I have to have stories ready when I go to this event. Maybe it's more of, I should rephrase this to be ready to recall experiences. Okay, let's take story out. Maybe just replace that with your own experiences. People will make connections with you and connect deeper to you on a deeper level if we're not just talking about titles and company names and positions, but we're actually sharing real things about ourselves. So somebody comes to you, they talk about, hey, what did you take from that event this morning or that speaker? I share one thing that the speaker said, and I say, you know what, and that's actually going to be really helpful because right now we're really struggling with this in our company. How about you guys? What are you struggling with? Like that's a real conversation now. Okay? Bit more better than talking about the weather, right? Or where they got their coffee. So have those stories ready, have those experiences ready to be able to share and engage. And then make personal connections. Okay? And I'm going to say this is not just at this event, but at any event. Okay, so you're at your kid's sporting event. You're standing next to a parent you haven't met yet, watching your kids play hockey. Okay? That's an opportunity to network. Okay? You make connections and you meet people outside of business events, outside of industry events, in everyday life. I've had some of the best business connections in line at Sobeys. I was actually wearing a shirt from one of my clients. I had their shirt on. Gentleman behind me said, "Oh, do you work at," and he said the name of my client. And I said, they're actually one of my clients. I do leadership work for them, and I coach some of their leaders. I have been dying to work there. They're such an amazing company. Is there any way that you could connect me with somebody there? And I went, sure, tell me a bit about yourself. We're in line at Sobeys. We let people go. We're in the self-checkout line, and we let people go ahead of us because we just had our carts talking about what he does, and then I made a connection for him. Okay? So seizing those opportunities to connect with people. You don't need better answers, you need better questions. Okay? So if you're getting up in the morning to go to an event, and you're worried and panicked about how am I going to answer and have like things to say to all these people, shift that to what questions could I be asking people, and then be the first one to ask the question. Right? Engage with them to learn about them more before you have to worry about being put on the spot because they're asking about you. Now, if everybody comes to my event, this is going to be really exciting, right? Because we're going to be in the hall and everybody's going to be trying to go first, right? But I think that's a good problem to have. So I teach a communication workshop, and I just stole this slide from my workshop slides, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, but I think we could get better at asking better questions, okay? And I'm not going to spend a ton of time digging into all of this, but we know there's generally two types of questions, closed-ended and open-ended, okay? Closed-ended questions end in typically what? Yes, no, one-word answers, okay? Probably not great for getting a conversation going. Probably great for closing out a conversation. So, can I call you Friday? Lunch on Tuesday? Yes. Like digging into those specifics. But what we really want to focus on are those open-ended questions. And here's my tip for you. The only way you can ask an open-ended question is it needs to start with what, why, or how. Every other question starter, like where, when, who, do, is, can, does, all closed. You could try it out. You could try it out on me right now, right? But what, how, and why are open-ended. They're very difficult to answer with one-word answers. It can be done. The extreme introvert can do it, okay? But it's much more difficult. I'm going to introduce the third type of question, and it's actually the probe, or I like to call it the no question mark question, because it technically isn't a question. And it starts with things like tell me about, walk me through, help me understand, paint me a picture, give me an example of what your guys are doing right now. Walk me through your business. Help me understand how I could get involved in that, right? So I think of the probe as an invitation for discussion, okay? So maybe just lock that in. How are my questions? If you're a person who feels like it's an interrogation, like I ask a question, it gives me one word, I have to ask another one, it gives me one word, it's so awkward, it feels like a volleyball match, it's probably you. You're probably asking the wrong question. So today, maybe your takeaway is asking a question that starts with what. That's my favorite question starter, is what. Why sometimes creates defensiveness. Why did you do that? Why do you work there? You mean, why do I work here? Right? It could create defensive. So start with what. And then if you're going to ask questions, guess what you need to do next? Listen. We're going to play a game of guilt. Okay? This is the interactive portion of the hour. Okay? If you're guilty of any of these things, I want you to raise your hand. Don't be shy. I'm going to play too. My hand will be up for the entire game. Okay? How many of you interrupt people before they finish speaking? How many of you rehearse what you're going to say while the person's still speaking? So you're actually formulating your answer. Yeah. How many of you do what I call fake attention or pseudo-listening? You nod your head, smile, pretend you're listening, but you're not actually paying attention. Okay? How many of you are just inattentive, like you're on your phone, which is kind of rude in a networking event, but maybe just daydreaming or thinking off, seeing someone down the hall that you'd rather talk to. Liars. Liars. Okay. Right? How many find themselves sometimes getting defensive? They start justifying, overreacting, feeling themselves getting guarded. Okay? Oh, you work for so-and-so? Yeah, I used to work there, they suck. Right? How many of you are guilty of listening and focusing only on the parts you're interested in or would like to hear? This includes meetings. This includes right now. I call this filtering the message. Okay? How many just flat out ignore them? This includes home. There we go. Okay? And then how many are guilty of jumping in and finishing somebody's thoughts for them? We do this a lot. Okay? And so I think it's safe to say that most of us probably raised our hands to many of these, if not all of them. Maybe the context shifts. I would never do that at work, but I do that to my husband all the time. He's at my booth right now. But here's the problem. If we do any of these, if we're guilty of any of these, we are listening not with the intent to understand what the person's saying. We're just listening with the intent to reply. Okay? And that's what most of us do. And that's why listening is like a topic that comes up so often for me, from my coaching clients, of things that people want to improve on. And so if we spend today asking questions and then really trying to not be guilty of these things and really listening to understand the other person, what could that produce? If we don't listen just to reply, but we actually listen to understand the other person, what they're saying, where they're coming from, what could that produce for us? What could we reap? Let's be selfish. What could we get? Connection? Maybe a link to how we could actually help, right? Or who we could connect them to, or where we want to take the conversation next. I always talk about in my business, and I don't work in remedial leadership, so I don't like, Jenny, could you come? My leaders all suck. Can you fix them? No, not me. I'll find you someone else. Jenny, can you come work with my awesome leadership team? We want to make them even better. Yes, I will come there. I'm in the elevated leadership business. That's what I want to do, right? And so when we talk about listening, we talk about really listening to understand. We talk about that's access to information. That's access to power. Information's power, no? In our business especially, right? Would you build a project with no drawings, no scope, no contract? I don't need any information. We'll just wing it. No, we wouldn't do that. But we do it with people. We do it with relationships. When we jump in, when we interrupt, when we get defensive, we basically are saying, no more information, thanks, I'm good. I got enough. I'm done listening. Right? So when we go out there today, let's ask questions and actually listen to understand. Right? All right, now this brings me, as we start to get close to the end of this talk, how do we, and this is the one I get asked a lot, how do I exit without being weird? Right? Like I've just made this great connection, I'm talking to the person, we've kind of run out of things to talk about, I've gathered all that I want to, I'm kind of done talking to this person, I want to move on, holy shit, there's the person I really want to talk to, that was my intent, my goal was to meet that guy and he's blazing past us. How do I exit? Does anybody wonder how to do that? Does anybody have any tips on how to do that before I give you mine? You're like, fuck that, Jenny, that's why I'm here. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, there's a theme, right? Yeah, just be honest. I thought I saw another hand. Yep. Right. Yeah, declare your intent, right? Tell them what I'm going to go do. Oh, you know what? I apologize. I've had a great conversation. I just saw Fred walk by, and I set a goal coming to this. Like, that's my favorite one, is tell the person the intent you set. Because maybe that's your gift to them. Holy shit, he had a goal coming here? I didn't set a goal. You know what? I think I want to meet Fred. I'm going to follow that guy over to Fred. Like, right? So you hit it, right? You don't need to escape. You just need to be clear. Okay? And, you know, it's funny because that same workshop I think I took that told me to create an elevator pitch, I think they also had an exit strategy. Right? Like, and it was just so convoluted and complex and hard to remember and felt cheesy and weird and hard to say and not genuine. So this idea around, you know what, I'm gonna move around now. It was really great meeting you. My tip always is to say their name again. That's just so I can kind of lock the name in, because I'm really bad at remembering names. So usually at the beginning when I'm like, hi, I don't think we've met yet, I'm Jenny. Oh, Miranda, right, great, nice to meet you. And we shake hands, we have a great chat, I ask questions, I listen, I do all the things we talked about. And then as we're, you know what, Miranda? Say the name again. Okay, it's amazing how it locks it into your memory. You know what, Miranda, it was really great meeting you. I'm gonna move around now. Maybe I'll catch you again a little bit later. Enjoy the conference, okay? I won't keep you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. It's selfish to hoard someone at a conference, right? I mean, that's why we're all here. We need to move around, we need to meet people, right? So if you're monopolizing someone's time, it's usually someone we know, someone we feel safe with. If I spend more time talking to this guy, I don't need to move around and network, right? But that's actually selfish, because they need to meet other people, right? I'm gonna grab a quick coffee before the next session. Did you wanna come with me? No, okay, great, and now the exit happens, right? So you don't need to escape, you just need to be really clear. Leaving a conversation isn't rude, hovering is, right? And then beyond just those little mini conversations that you're trying to exit, I wanted to just talk a little bit about like exiting the event, like leaving it all, right? And I call this your graceful retreat, right? And so sometimes the trickiest part, as we just mentioned, is how do I leave those little conversations to get into the next ones? And so hopefully that clarity helps. Express and show gratitude. Like, thank the person for their time. If they shared something with you, a tip on how to do something at work, a connection they're gonna make, I'm gonna connect you with Fred later after the conference, I'm gonna connect with you on LinkedIn or whatever that might be, just show some gratitude. Mention something specific that you liked hearing about or learning about, or something they said. Really, thanks for chatting with me, Fred. I really appreciated your tip on XYZ. I'm gonna try that next week, right? You know, I really appreciate you mentioning that you would connect me with Sally. You know, so showing that gratitude for the time that they gave you. Maybe it's offering them something, right? So think about this, and again, you don't have to have a booth with free stuff to hand out. What could you offer at a networking event? What could you offer to someone today, leaving here today? To me, if I found you later today on the trade floor. Like, what is, just examples of things you could offer? Don't be shy, shout them out. A referral? What else? Oh yeah, like, so specifically for me, feedback on my presentation, 100%. What else could you offer to someone? You're talking to them, you're engaging, they're telling you stories, you're sharing experiences, you're really listening to understand. Dan?
My contact details.
Your contact details, yeah. This hand up here?
A compliment.
A compliment. Gratitude, right. So think about offering. Maybe it's something like, you know what, I just read an article about that. Like, let me send it to you. Can I get your contact info? Right? And they're double duty, right? Can't find my pocket. Won't do that subtle. Use their name. I gave you that tip already. So that's my trick. I try and use it at the start. I try to use it again at the end. That's my benefit for my memory. But what's the message to the person? I don't think we've met yet. Miranda, right, great, nice to meet you. Chat, 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 chat. Miranda, it was so nice talking to you. I'm gonna move around now. I'll see you maybe a little bit later. What does that send to the person?
It shows that you were connecting and that you were listening.
Right. It's just that subconscious connection. Holy shit, remembered my name. And the person's probably not even gonna think that. They're gonna feel it though, right? And then my general rule that I'm just gonna share is I always like to shake their hand again. So I know initially we shake at the beginning, right? I mean, this was a tough one during COVID, but we're back to shaking hands. Shake it again at the end. Double shake. Right? Personalize it. Okay? And then when the event is over, we don't do enough of this, but when you get to your car or your truck in the parking lot, if you have just 5 minutes before, like, start the car, get the music going, whatever, before you put it in drive and start taking off, maybe just get your phone out. They could be voice notes. You get a pen out. You're going to get tons of them probably today. And just make a couple personal notes. What would you be noting? What do you think you could note down? This is important because all of your energy, all of the effort, all of the connections you make today, if you're leaving before the end of the day, you're probably flying to work, dealing with work stuff, so it's going to rapidly dissipate, okay? If you're staying right to the end and then you're going home with your family, again, it's going to dissipate at the end of the day. So what are those 5 minutes? What are you taking note of? What could you be jotting down?
What you talked about.
What you talked about, who you talked to, right? Say that again. Things you want to follow up with. Oh, I told Fred I'd send him Sally's contact info. I don't want to forget that, right? So I might do that. If there's key people, you're probably going to get a ton of stuff and cards and people from the booths or whatnot. But those 2, 3, 4 connections you made, get to your car, find them. Look them up. If they gave you a business card, connect them, put it in your phone, put in your contact the name of the person, and then put met at the OCA Symposium, talked about this. Him and his wife are going to Italy in the summer. We spent about 20 minutes talking about my trip to Italy and now his trip. Put those in, okay? Those are solid notes that are the connections, okay? Any actions you offered, okay? So if you promise something to somebody, a connection, an article you're gonna send them, a link to your webpage, whatever, make sure that you jot that down so you don't forget to do it, okay? And I always say follow up after the event, okay? Be the first one to follow up. I have another rule with my elevated leadership. Leaders go first. I'm gonna just say every single person in this room is a leader, whether you supervise people or not. You lead your life, you lead your role, you lead in your business, you're leading yourself today, so you go first. Be the first one to follow up, okay? Keep your word on those things that you offered to follow up on. Connect with people. The follow-up doesn't have to be cheesy either. You don't need ChatGPT to follow up with somebody, okay? It could just be a simple, quick text, email, LinkedIn message, however you want to connect with that individual or that person. Hey Fred, it was great meeting you at the OCA Symposium. Here's that article I mentioned, right? Keep it loose, no pressure. Okay? Anybody on LinkedIn and they get the, hey, you want to connect? And you look at them, you're like, oh, 72 mutual connections. That seems safe. Connect. And then all of a sudden you get that message like a pitch on their business. Clearly they know that I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have 700 employees, but they want to sell me this payroll system. It's like, did you look me up? Do you know who I am? What does that feel like when you get those? Because I see heads nodding. How do you feel?
Amazing.
You feel amazing? She'll say, I love it. She's on the back. I didn't even see you there. Delete, 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 right? I get that irked feeling if you just took 2 seconds and looked at my profile, you'd know that this doesn't really fit me, right? So I always respond. I do. I always respond. I'm super nice though, right? I was like, oh, thank you so much for this. I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have it. I respond. But happy to stay connected. 95% of them don't respond back to me, which I think is interesting, right? Because I could be a connection for you for your next client that has 700 employees that needs your payroll system. So kind of a gap there, right? So following up. And so some of those is just, it was nice to meet you. It was great to connect, right? If they promised you something, there's nothing wrong with you reminding them, right? It was great meeting you, Fred, at the OCA Symposium. I know you mentioned you'd connect me with Sally. Here's my contact info. Really appreciate that connection, right? So you can remind them, right? So think about your follow-up today before you drive out of the parking lot, okay? Make those notes. And then finally, I just want to leave you with this, right? How do you leave that lasting impression, right? Almost everybody will make a good first impression, but only a few of us will make a good lasting impression. What's the difference between the first impression and the lasting impression? The guy with the elevator pitch, hey, I'm Fred, I make construction dreams come true. Right? You're like, whoa, that hit me, I'm gonna remember that one, that was weird, right? That's that first impression, right? But am I gonna remember Fred? Am I gonna call Fred to make my construction dreams come true? Probably not, right? Because it didn't leave that lasting impression, okay? So it isn't the zinger that you leave with them or that mic drop as you walk away. It's the accumulation of the experience that they just had with you. Okay, I have something that I say that I believe in my whole heart. People, and I'm in the business of speaking, so this is a risk for me, right? People aren't going to necessarily remember what you say. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Okay? And that's the experience you want to have in a networking event when you're connecting with people. You know what? It's the greatest compliment is when someone comes up to me at a future event and says, hey, I don't remember your name. I took one of your, I don't know, it was some talk you did And I don't really remember what it was, but oh my God, you were so funny, and I just had the best day after. Like, that to me, that tells me I did something right. Like, yes, they didn't remember all my tips, they didn't remember exactly my slides, they can't remember the name of my company, but they recognized my face and how I made them feel. That's what builds trust. That's what builds connection. Because we'll reconnect, right? We'll have more conversations where they're going to remember my company and they're going to know what I do, and then they're going to talk about me to other people. Okay, that's the lasting impression. So think about not so much what you're going to say, but how you're going to make somebody feel. Okay? There was an event I was speaking at. They actually have a booth set up. I won't say the name of the company. And they were doing a women in construction event, and I spoke at it. And while I was up on the stage getting my notes ready and my stuff ready, there was people all milling around, and it was a big event. Like, there was like 200 or so people there. And I saw this young woman come in, and she was by herself, and she just looked really nervous, uncomfortable, and she didn't like hover in any of the groups where the people were talking, and she kind of like just shimmied her way into the center of the room in this little table, and she kind of sat down, and she put her phone in her purse, and she was just like looking around, and I just saw her, and I thought, oh man, like, is somebody else gonna notice her and maybe go over? And I thought to myself, I'll just finish setting this up, and then I'm gonna go down and like say hi to her and introduce myself, right? And as I was coming down the steps, I saw this woman who was in a group of like 6 ladies talking, and I could see that she saw her. And as I was coming down the steps, I saw her say, like, I'm assuming she said, excuse me for a minute, and she beelined over. And for a moment I thought, oh, finally somebody this woman knows is gonna go say hi to her. And as I was coming down, she walked over to the woman and she went, hi, I'm, whatever her name was, do events like this make you wanna barf too? And the young girl just started laughing, and she's like, oh my gosh, yes. And I just like did a turnabout, because I thought, okay, perfect, they're connected. And I locked that in as, what an amazing thing to say to that woman, right? Because she's gonna remember not the words or the exchange, but the feeling that somebody came, made her comfortable, made her laugh, okay? So think about that lasting impression. And then finally, how am I doing for time? I'm cutting into our question and answer time, but maybe I did this intentionally so you'll visit me at my booth, huh? Okay. Your reputation is already in the room. Networking doesn't create your reputation, it confirms it. Lock that in, okay? Even if you're like, yeah, but nobody knows me. I just started working at this company. Well, guess what? Your badge has your company's name on it. Your reputation is already in the room. Think about that, right? Your company is already in this room, okay? What you do today, how you interact, the connections you make, how you make people feel confirms the reputation that you want to have, right? Shifts the reputation that you want to change, right? Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence. Making sure that the impact lasts after they've experienced you, okay? And finally, just keep it simple. That's my message, really, when you leave here today, is if you're gonna remember anything, if you're gonna find me 2 years from now and go, I went to that event at the OCA and I don't remember anything you said except keep it real, keep it simple. Like, that's what I want you to remember. You don't need to be more outgoing. You don't need better lines. You don't need to work the room. You just need a bit of clarity. You need intention. You need to have a normal conversation. If I hear anyone come up to me and say, hey, I'm Fred, I work at Making Dreams Come True, I'm gonna punch you in the face, okay? You need to just be you, be real, okay? And I'm gonna leave you with this quote by Keith Ferenczi: the currency of real networking is not greed, it's generosity. So this shifts from what can I take, all that negative mindset stuff, to what can I give, okay? And finally, I thought I'd make you a cheat sheet, okay? Feel free to take a picture of this if you want, okay? But they're kind of everything we've talked about recapped, so you can just open it on your phone as you start to approach someone, and you're like, shit, what am I can't use my Make Dreams Come True thing, so what am I gonna do? So get clear, why am I here? Who does it matter to talk to? So when you leave here today and you go get your coffee and you use the washroom, maybe think about that. What's my goal? Start simple. I gave you 2 easy ones. Hey, have you been to the Symposium before? Is this your first time coming? What are you working on? Okay, easy, simple. Talk about actual work, not titles, not scripts, okay, just real work. Tell me about your business. What are you doing? What are you challenged with the most? How are your teams? How are your people? Oh, you need leadership training? I know someone. No, didn't catch that. Okay, give something, a connection, a resource, a tip, a follow-up. Okay, move on. It's not clicking, you know, right? Meeting with the person, like, oh, there's just nothing here, right? Like, not giving anything back. I don't think there's a real connection here. It's okay, leave. It was great meeting you. I'm gonna circulate. Have a great conference. Maybe I'll see you later. Clean, short, get out. Okay? There's no point in faking 20 minutes, 30 minutes if the connection's not there. Because if it's not there for you, it is definitely not there for them. Okay? One useful conversation today. That's my goal for all of you. Just one. That seems easy, right? I can have one useful conversation today, right? One connection. You know what? Try me. Visit me, okay? Come by. If you want to talk about what your goal might be, how you want to connect, if you want to practice on me, okay? Come and visit me. Okay? Is good? Can I advance this? Yes? Okay. So I'll pause there, and I think we might just have like 2 minutes for questions. I apologize, I went a little bit too long. But if there's any questions, happy to have them. Or if you're the type of person who doesn't want to ask the question in a large group, you can meet me at, I forget my booth number, I think it was on the slide, 703, I think is my booth number. You can come find me. You can ask me as many questions as you want about networking, about professional presence, if you want to talk about leadership. I have a fun little game called Flip the Reality that I'm going to play at my booth if you want to come play with me. And I'll leave it there. So thank you. Are there any questions? For Dan or myself?
Ask me the Capital Road.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Oh, there's one over there.
Oh, yes.
One question I had is that when walking, like when at a networking event, one thing I always struggle with is seeing already all these groupings of people chatting away and always feeling awkward or feeling, having a struggle to kind of like break into that conversation or how to break into that conversation kind of thing. So, just a question about that.
It's a great question. Anybody else struggle with that one? Oh, look at that. Note to self, build a slide. Yeah, so again, keep it real, right? What have we tried in the past? Has anybody tried anything that has worked or failed miserably? I love hearing both, if we're comfortable. Okay. Anybody try breaking into a group? If there's someone in the group that you know, or it's a company that you know, right? Use that as your in. Okay, so I might see a group standing there and I don't know him, but I see his tag and I see the XYZ company, right? And it might be like hey, I don't want to interrupt, but I think I might know Fred at your organization, right? Like, find it in, right? Sometimes I just ask. It's okay if I join your group? I'm Jenny. Hi, I don't think we've met. I'm Jenny. And extend my hand into the group. Now here's the real power. If you're in a group and you see that lone bugger walking by, bring him in. Bring him in. He'll remember that, how you made him feel, because he's struggling to break into that group. On time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jenny. That, I know it sounds like a platitude, but I actually enjoyed that and I learned some things new today. So on behalf of the OCA, small gift for you, and thank you again, and one more round of applause for Jenny. So the next round of presentations are at 10:30. I'm just gonna ask people to get into the room a little bit before 10:30, so there's not a lot of interruptions at the beginning of the presentations, okay? Thank you, everyone.
Good.